Good morning, afternoon or evening everybody. Today we are continuing with the Spitfire comparison. All the tools versus the starter kit. And this one is all about the paintwork. In the last episode I built both kits side by side. Now I'm going to paint them using two different methods. One will be painted using my full arsenal of modelling gear, the other with only what comes in the box. How much difference does all the gear make? Well, let's find out. I begin with the starter kit plane. This will involve hand painting the RAF camouflage using the paint and brush provided. I start with a dark grey finish. The paint itself is really thick, so I got out the spare from the other kit and checked if it was the same, and yeah, they are both incredibly thick, so I decided to crack on. The brush provided isn't too bad, it's incredibly wide but it has a nice point to it, so we'll do the job. I start painting the outer line to the camouflage scheme, then realised it's practically the same finish as the plastic, which will be a lot harder to see the pattern when painting the second colour. So I switched to the green. The green paint, as we saw in the last episode, is a decent consistency. Again, I start with the outlines and then start filling it in with light, even coats. The key to hand painting is not using too much paint. If you do put too much on, you increase the risk of stroke marks. It's much easier to do several light layers, rather than just go in hard at the beginning. In most cases, if the consistency of the paint is right, only one coat will be required anyway, and that's the case here. The paint is actually really quite thick, and the coverage is good, therefore it only took one coat. It's actually not too bad to work with, albeit the green is completely the wrong colour. It's way too bright. Next is probably the trickiest part of hand painting, going around the canopy. The lower sections I use the point of the brush, doing my best not to get any on the windows themselves. For the framework of the canopy, I use the edge of the brush just to run along it. Any mishaps, we can clean the brush thoroughly and clean up the mess. Being a water-based acrylic means we can just wash it off. The rest of the green is painted, then it's on to the grey. This is now just a big colouring in exercise. Again, I go around the edges first and then fill it in with even strokes. Considering the crazy thickness of the paint, it actually goes down pretty well. It was all going rather smoothly at this point, with the top camouflage now complete and the paintwork not looking too shabby. But the worst was now to come. It's time to paint the underside of the plane in the sky grey. I use this makeshift foam plane stand to hold the plane upside down, then get cracking with the grey. Unfortunately, this paint was just like water. The worst coverage I've ever experienced. Look at it. It's actually not doing anything. And just in case you're wondering, I did stir the paint, just off camera. The only solution I could think of was to do multiple coats. So I persevered. I kept going and going and going and did 2 full coats over the whole plane, which took an absolute age. And yeah, it still looked awful. I started painting the smaller components with the paint, knowing full well I was probably going to have to do multiple coats on these as well. Then it dawned on me. I decided to see what the paint was like from the spare kit. And boom, it was so much thicker. Suddenly the coverage was good, and I couldn't believe I wasted all that time. I was absolutely livid at this stage, but I'm just glad the spare kit paint was alright. I paint the entire underside in this paint, and finally, the paintwork is complete. And it didn't come out too bad. I'm actually pretty happy with the result. It does show you can get good results using the starter kit paints, so long as airfix don't give you a bad batch. Now it's time to paint the other Spitfire with help from my arsenal of paint supplies. I start by sticking all the small parts to cocktail sticks. This will make airbrushing them a hell of a lot easier. Then I connect the Spitfire to the stand ready for priming. This will enable me to angle the Spitfire and prime the whole thing in one go. I'll be using this grey primer from VMS. This has been my go-to primer for a long time. It can be sprayed straight from a 0.3mm nozzle, or it can be diluted with acrylic thinner if required. I lay down a good even coat across the entire plane. Priming is arguably the most important part of any paint job. It will help the paint adhere to the plastic, and it will also show me any imperfections in the build. I start with the top side of the plane, then move to the underside. Again, just giving it a nice even coat. I also prime the landing gear and all the other small components whilst I'm here. Next, I clean up the stand with my snips and a scalpel, and give that a good coat of primer as well. If you're enjoying this video or finding it helpful so far, please do remember to hit those like and subscribe buttons, and let me know your thoughts in the comments. With the whole thing primed, now it's time for a spot of pre-shading. For this, I'll be using XF1 Flat Black, and the airbrush I'll be using is this, the Galeri Mobius 3.0. This has been my weapon of choice for a little while now, and has been a solid addition to my arsenal. If you're interested in your own Galeri airbrush, I've put a link in the description. I mix the paint 50-50 with acrylic thinner, then start carefully painting around all the panels. We don't have to be too accurate here. The whole aim is to add variation to the final paintwork. I am well aware that pre-shading isn't everybody's cup of tea, and it's each to your own on that one. But I am a big fan. I think it just adds that little bit of something to the final model and stops the paintwork looking completely flat. Whilst I have the black in the airbrush, I paint the base and stand. And that's the pre-shading done. As previously mentioned, the primer will show up any imperfections in the build and give us one last chance to patch it up before the final paintwork. I have a small one here at the front, so I treat it as I would when I'm cleaning up the seam. I add a small amount of filler, then let it cure fully, and then just sand it smooth. Perfecto. We are now ready to paint the camouflage scheme. I'll be using this Tamiya guide to give me a hand. This is useful because it has no markings on it, and it's a little bit bigger. The paints I'll be using for the scheme is XF82 Ocean Grey 2, XF81 Dark Green 2, and XF19 Sky Grey for the underside. To mask off the camouflage pattern, I'll be using this masking putty. It's the first time I've ever used it, and it feels a little bit like that silly putty I used to get as a child. I start by rolling it out into thin sausages and cutting it into smaller strips. This is so I can get the outline of the camouflage. Once I have the outline shape, I just fill it in with a block of putty. The process isn't too bad to do. It is a little bit fiddly and does take a bit of getting used to. And one thing to note, it sticks to itself like mad, so just be wary of that. But it is a lot easier than masking it with tape. That can take an absolute age. With the whole thing masked up with a putty, now we can lay down the first paint colour. I'm starting with the dark green. The key here is light coats. We don't want to completely cover up the pre-shading. We just want it to show through the paint, just giving it some tonal difference around the edges of the panels. It's really easy to lay too much paint and completely cover it, and I've done that plenty of times. It really is practice makes perfect with this one. Once the green is laid, I wait for it to fully cure, then I unwrap it. I must say this is incredibly satisfying with the putty. It comes off really easily and gives you a nice crisp edge. The putty is reusable, so I put this aside to use again later on. And it's looking pretty good so far. I am really happy with this for a first pop. Now we just need to repeat that entire masking process so we can paint the grey layer. I found it was quite a challenge to mask off the green. I want to get it close enough so we don't have too much overlap, yet I don't want to mask off any of the primer and end up with any blank spots. I'm not sure whether I was going about it the right way, whether I should have painted the whole thing green, then just mask it once and paint the grey, then try and botch the pre-shading. I'm not sure. But if you've done a paint scheme like this using the putty, please do let me know how you did it in the comments. This is all a bit of a learning curve for me. Once masked, we can then go in with the dark grey, exactly the same way as we painted the green, several light coats until we're happy with the amount of pre-shading showing through. Once the paint is dried, we can then unwrap it for the final time and see the final result. And it's looking pretty good. I'm really impressed with the clean edge you get with the putty. I was almost expecting it to be, a little bit softer, but the edge is really nice and crisp. I do have a couple of blank spots with the primer showing through, but luckily it's grey so it doesn't show up all that much. And here it is next to the hand-painted version. You can see the colour is miles different. But when I look at the box, it looks like my airbrush version is a lot closer to what even Airfix want me to produce. So come on Airfix, give us the right colours. Now I lock in all our hard work with a coat of satin varnish. This will both protect the paint from the masking that's required on the next stage, and it also gives it a nice natural shine. It's important to let the varnish completely cure before masking it up. The last thing we want to do is peel any of the paint off. Now we are ready to start masking. Tamiya tape is perfect for this task. It's low tack, so shouldn't harm the paintwork. For larger areas, I'm still searching for the ideal tape. This stuff I got from Amazon, advertised as low tack, is prone to pulling the paint off. So first I stick it down on my workboard. This lowers the tack somewhat and makes it usable on the model. For the front, which has a curve, I use this vinyl tape. This stuff is perfect for slightly curved masking jobs, but it's not very tacky at all, so it needs to be used with caution. With the whole thing masked up, we can crack on and paint the underside in the sky grey. Again, I use multiple light coats, building up the finish until we're happy with the amount of pre-shading showing through. The same finish is used to paint the landing gear flaps and the wheels. Next, I carefully unpeel the masking. It always makes me nervous at this stage. The last thing we want is any seepage or pulling the paint off. It's always advised to take extra care and go super slow with this stage. And it came out pretty well, no mishaps whatsoever. Finally, we just need to clear coat the underside, again just to protect the paint. Whilst I'm on an airbrush mission, I paint the propeller blades in the semi-gloss black. Again, this requires multiple light coats, but this is because this paint is prone to drips. And finally, I clear coat the stand. And that is the main paintwork on both planes done. I'm pretty happy with the outcomes. The masking putty was great to work with, and I'll certainly be using that again. The hand-painted one came out better than expected, apart from the colour. My first model back in the hobby was also a hand-painted Spit. Both these models proves that good results can be accomplished with a brush. But personally, I do prefer the airbrushed look. The pre-shading really does add some difference and natural variation to the paint. It has been a blast painting these two Spits. My next episode will be all about adding the decals and the final touches to get these things done. If you've enjoyed the series so far, please do hit those like and subscribe buttons and let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you're after an airbrush for yourself, please do check out Gallery. There's a link and promo code in the description. Finally, I do have a limited amount of commissions open at the moment, so if you're after a custom build for yourself, please do hit up my email in the description. But for now, farewell, hope to see you next time, and happy modelling everybody.